Geelong is being called one of the hottest markets around Melbourne right now. And the momentum is hard to ignore, but not all parts of Geelong is moving the same way. In a market like this, it's easy to overpay, buy the wrong type of asset at the wrong time of the cycle. In this episode, I'm gonna unpack what's really driving Geelong's growth, talking about markets that have already grown and even the ones that have gone backwards you might not even know about. So let's take a look at what the data says about Geelong and what you need to know as a property investor. My name is Junge Ma, the lead research analyst here at InvestorKit. Let's get into it. Many people are saying that Geelong is the hottest or one of the hottest markets around Melbourne, but the reality is it's a big city. If we break it down into suburbs, we'll see that heat is not even across this one city. We'll take the past 1 year growth as an example. In the past 1 year, some suburbs have grown by double digit or even higher than 15%. But at the same time, some markets have actually dropped in value. Here are some of the suburbs that have grown by double digit. The postcode 3219 is a big one. East Geelong has grown by 16% in a year. St Albans Park, 14.4% in a year. Wellington, 10.7% in a year. And in the north, we have Corio, 12% in a year, and Bell Park, 10.9% or almost 11% in a year. So these are the good performers since 2025. But at the same time, on the other end, we do see some slow growers. Some examples: Geelong, 0.6% year-on-year growth. Geelong West, 0.5%, almost no growth. Something even worse, Fyansford, minus 0.8% year-on-year. And Newtown, where median house prices is already above 1 million, actually declined by 7.3% in value in the previous year. Looking at those suburbs, it's not hard to see that the best growers tend to be the well-established areas surrounding the central Geelong area, where house prices were not extremely high, while the worst performers tend to be those in the central city area with higher house prices, or areas in the outer ring area where supply tend to be slightly higher. But in the recent months, patterns have been changing. While some of the best performers we were talking about are still gaining plenty of momentum. For example, Corio, last 3 month total growth was already 7.5%. Wellington and St Albans Park, last 3 month growth was already above 6%. Bell Park, also 6.2% quarterly growth. While they have been continuing to grow well, the central city areas are actually coming back. For example, Newtown, the one that declined in 7.3% in the past year, have actually achieved a 19% quarterly growth in the past quarter. I'm not saying that this is going to annualize into some 70% plus annual growth. It is just showing the strong momentum in recent months, the comeback. Geelong West as well. Past 1 year growth was just 0.5%, but in recent quarter, it has seen a above 10% quarterly growth. Similarly, Geelong itself, 0.6% year-on-year growth, but in the recent quarter, it has achieved 4.5% quarterly growth already. Now, if we put these growth rates on map, we see that almost all established areas, including the relatively more affordable ones that were already growing well in the past year, and the more central ones that were growing slowly last year, are gaining plenty of heat. And at the same time, some of the outer ring areas are still showing not really strong growth. Now we want to find out why or what is driving the growth in Geelong. The first thing I can think of is affordability, because the first batch of suburbs that gained heat last year and gained momentum was the suburbs with relatively lower prices, with median house prices in the 5s or 6s. But now things are different. Affordability is not the only driver anymore. One metric we are monitoring is the ratio between interested buyers and the number of listings. And if we make a chart visualizing the relationship between median house price and the ratio between interested buyers and number of listings, we actually see that the price range of 600 to 800,000 is actually gaining the highest buyer's interest instead of the most affordable ones. And overall, there is no pattern showing that the lower the price, the higher the buyer's interest. And if you look at the charts overall, there's no significant correlation between affordability and buyer's interest. In other words, it's not that the lower price you have, the higher buyer's interest you will be receiving. And again, if we visualize the relationship between median house price and the quarterly growth in the past 3 months, we do not see a significant correlation between these two as well. Most suburbs' quarterly growth has been distributed around this one very flat line. And now, how about supply level? Is it the case that the more limited supply you have, the faster the growth is? When we visualize supply level, especially income and supply level, together with quarterly price growth, the chart actually doesn't show the pattern as well. In the really well-established areas, for example, Belmont or North Geelong, building approval rates or income and supply has been quite low, 0.4% building approval rate. That's barely anything. Yet, quarterly growth hasn't been really strong. Belmont was minus 1%, or 1% decline in a quarter, and North Geelong had only seen 0.4% growth in the past quarter. Well, on the other end, in the really high supply areas, quarterly growth has been quite normal, no significant drop from the well-established area or to the left of this chart, or the cluster towards the left of the x-axis. So from what we've seen just now, there's no single driver that is driving Geelong's growth. It started with affordability, but now the heat is starting to expand to more areas, starting with the more established areas. And in the coming months, we are expecting to see more suburbs starting to gain the growth momentum. That is actually showing us that Geelong is hot, but it's just hot in some suburbs. The others are still emerging, and for investors, it is not really late to still enter Geelong right now. But that being said, there's still a few things we want to keep in mind when investing in Geelong. First thing is, do not buy in Geelong just because it is emerging, just because it is gaining heat, or just because it's a large satellite city of Melbourne. When making the decision of which city to buy in, it is important to clarify your portfolio plan and buy in the markets that would meet your portfolio plan need in terms of short-term growth, short-term momentum, long-term stability, cash flow, budget range, and more. And the second thing is, when it comes to emerging markets or hot markets, it is likely to become emotional and just want to pay more to win a property. Winning a property by overpaying may feel good at the moment because you're winning a property in a hot market, but in the long term, overpaying won't do any good to your overall portfolio growth. 3, don't buy just any asset type because it's a hot market. We've been talking about this for many times. While the market is the same, different asset types can perform very much differently. So besides selecting the best market for you, you need to select the best asset type for you, or stick to the best asset type as well to work the best for you. And then the last one is due diligence. Again, we've been talking about this for many times. It can be easy to get emotional or rush a little bit and skip DD checks when it comes to a hot market. We've seen many investors making similar mistakes, rushing into a property in a hot market just to find that there are issues with the property itself, and in the long run, it can erode your cash flow or even value growth. So to summarize, Geelong is becoming hot. Some suburbs have already achieved double-digit growth in the past year, but the heat is not even across the city. Many suburbs are actually just starting to emerge, meaning that there are still plenty of opportunities for investors to get into this market. But as investors, we cannot blindly enter a market just because it is emerging into a hotspot. We still need to carefully do our portfolio plan, do our market research, do our due diligence checks, and valuation when it comes to offers and prices. I'm Junge Ma, the lead research analyst.